Welcome to RawSportsCast, and you're with Roger Wade. Wade in with Roger today. My guests are Rocky Vitale of the Lambrick Park Prep Academy and Emma Entzminger. Sorry, that always gets me. Our Olympic bronze medalist from the 2021/20 Olympics. So we're here today to talk about softball. Softball everywhere in Victoria, the good, the bad, and how we can make it better. So, Rocky, you've been around softball for quite some time in this town. What's going on?
Yeah, I've been here for 34 years. All came here for ball, came here for Payless. And then started an academy 18 years ago. And now we're in the venture of starting a new summer program for girls called Next Level / Glory.
Well, that's very cool. And Emma, you're the director of player development, right?
Yeah, good job.
Okay. Hey, this is pretty casual, so let's just go with it. What exactly is your job going to be?
Yeah, so we have a couple programs. First is the Next Level program, which is a winter training program from October to April, kind of just girls coming in whatever level they're at, and really just getting to the next level. So, C to B, B to A, A to college, kind of whatever they're looking to do, but just get to the next level and get better. And then it's also like a mentorship program. A lot of Lambrick Park alumni and just girls that have played softball in Victoria coming back. They've gone to NCAA, D1, college, JUCO, whatever it is, and just kind of having that platform to give back to the softball community. And then we've got the Glory travel teams, which will be U13, U15, U17, and U19. It's an A program, and it's really just a new program in Victoria led by females, and I think that's really what we're trying to do, just that female empowerment, and once again, those mentors coming back and helping in Victoria, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes.
Well, I think that after watching how successful you guys were at the Olympics, I think that brought a new light to softball in throughout Canada, not just here. I think that we... some of us that have been around for a long time knew about it, but I don't think it was on the world stage. And then when softball wasn't in the Olympics for those, I think it was three Olympics, which is 12 years. I think that it kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I love watching softball. I go all over the place to watch it, and I think that it's a great sport, and the girls get so much out of it. Rocky, you've been around this forever. You've been a big part of this with the Devils program and with your academy. How do you see this going?
Well, I think everything evolves, and I think this is an evolution of where we're going with the sport. When I spent 20 years with the Devils in the summer program, and there's things that I really enjoyed, and there's things that I knew that we could do better. And I think we've come to a time where we are looking to do something better. And basically it's getting the 70-so grads out of Lambrick who have played college ball to get those girls back into the community, back into the Glory program, back into the next level, and get more female empowerment. Me being in high school for 35 years at Lambrick, there needs to be more awareness of female needs, more awareness that there needs to be a culture, there needs to be mentorship, they're different than boys. And I think at times we've had, just for good reasons, we've had great volunteers, great fathers, but I think there's a time where we can now get beyond that and start putting in the skill and the knowledge of the female athletes that are back in this town.
Yeah, I've been around the Devils program for the last seven years. And I think it's so cool that the girls that have played ball in the city are coming back to give back to it. I coached a U12B team this year, and one of my assistants was Haley Gordon, and she went to Lambrick, and she came up and she went to play college ball, and the girls really resonated with her, and I think that's something that old guys like me can't get in there with that kind of momentum to get the girls to really latch on to what they say as far as players. So, in your experience, I mean, you've played ball from little kid here to going to the Olympics, and so what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, playing for the Devils as well. My dad coached me, and that's just kind of the way it was. But I think the game is changing and it's evolving, and we're just needing more education on the sport and understanding of the sport. And I think there's a lot of females that have played at the high level, and they have a lot of that to give. And I think Haley, as an example, like that's a perfect example. What we're trying to build is, we're building that culture with the Glory, and it's affiliated with Lambrick and the academy, and being able to have those girls wanting to come back and give back to those teams. I think we've just lacked that in the past, of that culture as an organization, rather than just, there's the U15 team and then there's the U17 team, but for some reason they're not getting along and we don't even know the reasons for it. So I think just growing that culture of wanting to come back and sharing. And for me, like I'm overseeing 4 teams or 4 age levels where I'd love to coach and be a head coach, but I'm still also playing with the national team, and I think that's part of it. That's where I'm growing and learning and being able to come back and share those experiences. So I think, it's really cool to see females coming back and just talking about this and growing the game really in Victoria. I've been gone for so long, and it's nice to be home for a period of time where I can give back. And I think softball's given me so much, Lambrick's given me so much. So really Rocky kind of gave me this platform out of nowhere. I was getting off the plane coming home from the Olympics, and Rock's like, hey, are you free? Can you give me a call? I'm like, well, I just stepped foot in Victoria, but sure. And I think the timing was right, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it's awesome. It's just things we're all, lined up perfectly for it to happen. So I think moving forward, it's going to be awesome, and I'm excited to just make an impact on females and just softball in Victoria in general.
That's so cool. Now, you had tryouts on last Saturday. How did it go? How was it attended, and what do you think about that? Either one.
It was an amazing turnout. I mean, you're talking about a program that really has just put some stuff out there on Facebook and Instagram and trying to get the word out. And we had 80 kids. We had 80 girls show up to be part of the Glory program, and I believe we'll pick up another 10, 15 this weekend. It could hit 100 by the time the 2 weekends end. And what is it? Why are 80 girls showing up? Why? What is it that we're doing, or is it what is not being happening at other parks? What is it? What drew them? And I believe it's we have a Olympic medalist. It's kind of gone full circle from the days of Devils to having an Olympian run this program. And let's not, let's be real here. I mean, we were not accepted in every park. We went on a journey trying to find someone to have a home for this program, and we were turned down by several parks that did not want this program, and for whatever reason, and we didn't really get into it. We just moved on to another park, to another park, to another park, and we are lucky that we are now members of Beacon Hill softball program. And without Beacon Hill, without them, we would not have Glory. It was coming close to the end where Beacon Hill stepped up, and you know what? I'm really glad. Sometimes you overlook people, and maybe that's a park we should have been looking at the whole time, being young, being not a lot of politics involved in the park. They didn't ask us what we could do for them. They asked what we could do for you, Emma, or you, Rocky. What can we do for you to make this transition? And we feel welcomed. And I think that's the real key. When we had the meet and greet the other night, it was the first time Emma or myself, you too, being Devils, we never had a park. We never had a home. So the last home I ever had was Royal Athletic, and then that disappeared. And, we had no park. And that was a goal for me from day one, is I wanted to have a park to build with, to help the little kids on up, to be able to socialize, to be able to have next level. All the alumni come back and have a coffee on a Saturday, or the weight room, know where we are. Without having that kind of place to go to, you become dysfunctional. And we're ecstatic about Beacon Hill. I mean, and people have to know that is the community that stepped up for this program.
Rocky, I have a question. First of all, Emma, Rocky, welcome to our show. Thanks for doing it. It's an honor to have you both here. Emma, I can't see you, but you can hear me, right, Emma?
Yeah, I can.
I just want to, before we get too deep into our interview, we talked about a movement, and you talked about the female movement, specifically the female movement. And the world is changing, and it's evolving, and inclusion. And I want to just get your thoughts on transgender athletes. And what does that mean? Like, we haven't come that far yet. I don't know. Are we closing the gap? Is that something that you look at down the road, that this is something that you're going to have to deal with? Is this, Emma, is it a possibility that you will be playing? And how does that look? How, inclusion is for all, correct?
Mm-hmm. I can talk as a teacher in the school system, and we have that occurring already.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
there. It's there. I think as it comes, you approach it as we're all welcoming.
100%.
I mean, that's all I would ever tell somebody, is that we're welcoming.
But do people coming up that it may identify as that, do they know that, or is this like it's a touchy subject for some, but not for me. But I think if we don't talk about it, it's still going to be one of those touchy subjects. So is it something that you're comfortable talking with?
I am, because I deal with it on a daily basis. I've dealt with it as coaches. I've had, a lot of different females with different preferences, and they're still your students. You're still, and I have no qualms. People are good people, and that's how I look at it. Emma maybe has gone against more athletes.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community, so I feel like for me, everybody's kind of on that spectrum, and everyone has a place. I think it hasn't kind of came up maybe necessarily in Victoria in softball for me, but the game, and the world is evolving. So, for instance, at the Olympics, there was the first transgender athlete on women's soccer, Quinn. And I think it was really cool to see the impact that had on the world, and the impact they had on that moving forward, just for more opportunities, because there is a place for everyone. So I haven't come across it personally, but I know it's out there, and the world is evolving. So it's kind of something that we're all open to, and like Rock said, like as it comes. That's something that you kind of have to address. I know the rules even right now are super vague with sports, and I think it's tough for athletes because they don't really have answers necessarily in the sport, because those are just changing and having to be inclusive and with everything. So I mean, it's something that's talked about, and it's something that is a part of the world today. So I'm sure it will come across our program, and I'm an advocate for that 100%, and super open to any of that, as an athlete myself. So.
Right. So and I think the awareness has to be brought too, that, Emma, you got to see it firsthand at the Olympics. But it's the pushback, the negative pushback, stereotyping, the stuff like that that goes on. I think it's more down south at the time right now in the Div 1, Div 2 schools, where I'm hearing about track stars and stuff taking spots, and this is this is just out. But is it taking a spot? Either one of you?
As of right now, we don't, like I said, we haven't come across a lot of it, and but I think it's a culture we're talking about. The culture that we're trying to develop with the Glory is the welcoming, the understanding.
Fair enough.
That there's diversity, and diversity is important, and to accept others as being special and being unique and being something that we would welcome. It's all about being good to people, and that's the culture that we want to develop with Glory is that girls feel comfortable. And that's
there it is.
That's all of us.
I think that when we talked about it many months ago, that's what our big driving force was with the Glory, was to make sure the girls feel comfortable coming to this program, and that's huge. I have a daughter who's 19 who's gone through Lambrick, and she's in the States, in Texas, playing ball, and she has teammates that are all over the spectrum, and you got to feel comfortable, and that's the biggest thing. The girls coming in got to feel comfortable, no matter what they are, who they are, what they are, how they are. They just got to feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I think talking about it in an open forum is meeting it head on. But the other thing I was curious about, sorry, Roger, I only have two questions, but one of the scholarships is, and Emma, do you have a scholarship?
Do I have
Did you go to?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I don't know. Like I don't.
Sorry, I
this
thought
is my
you meant currently. I'm like,
no,
well, I'm done now.
because what I'm getting at is my questions leading up to, and it's I'm a hockey guy, so is it like, do you want to play NHL? Yes, that's the very first thing you want to do. School is second. It might even be plan C. But in softball, Emma, did you have, I want to play for the ladies national team? Or was it, I'm going to go get a softball scholarship, I'm going to do this program, and if I get on the national team, oh, that's great. Yeah,
I mean, growing up, I was fortunate that my parents kind of let me play any sport I wanted to, and I think for me, I, at the time, didn't know what I wanted to play, but I knew that I did want to represent Canada and kind of be on the Olympic stage. And, just going through sports, I was really kind of torn between softball and soccer for a long time. I really loved soccer, but then going into high school, I kind of had to make the decision, and I wanted to go to Lambrick, and I knew going into Lambrick that my goal was to get a scholarship. I think
that was your first, like that, like did it help you get to the national team?
Well, funny story, actually.
All right.
Not much of a story, but the only reason I tried out for the national team, the junior national team in 2013, was we randomly came across a bulletin board up island in like Nanaimo that said, "Oh, national team tryouts, Vancouver," whatever it was. And my dad signed me up for it. I had no idea. He just signed me up for it, and we're like, "Yeah, we're going to the tryout." I'm like, "What?" So I got to thank him for that one. He probably wants a shout out on one of these podcasts, so that's his shout out. So for me, that was my in, and I think.
So the scholarship the schooling had ultimately nothing to do with you representing Canada.
I mean, no, but for some, yes. So I think everybody kind of has their own path. And I started playing with Team BC, and then I got in with the national team. And when I got in with the national team, that was 2013. I was in grade 10. And I knew I still wanted to go to college, so that's why I went through the academy. And Rocky was able to place me at San Jose State University, and I was able to play there for 4 years. And because I played there for 4 years and, grew my game and got better fitness-wise, nutrition-wise, just softball skills-wise, that opened up more opportunities to then play for the junior national team in 2015, but then also being a part of the senior national team. So I think for me, yes, I got in maybe before I got a scholarship, but for some girls get seen in Canada through the national team in college. And I think, I would love to say our development within Softball Canada is super high, but it's just been tough having a gap between U19 and then the senior team. Well, once girls are done in U19 and done with the junior team and done with college, there's that bridge of okay, am I going to play with the national team? Well, if I don't have that opportunity, it's I'm done with sport, unfortunately, because there isn't we've done an elite team a couple times, but there's no team to get to the national team, if that makes sense. So sometimes timing is huge. Really just, I think, exposure. So that's exposure through academy, that's exposure through travel ball teams, Team BC, Canadian Summer Games, those are all things where the national team's looking. Scholarship helped with that. But for me, my first kind of spot or being seen with the national team was in high school when I hadn't gone to college yet.
Okay, yeah. So you would have been quite happy getting a scholarship and by chance not representing your country, but the scholarship was the number one priority for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think as, I knew for softball, unfortunately, there really isn't much pro softball out there. You can go abroad to Japan and, they have their pro leagues. And right now they have Athletes Unlimited going on for pro players and international players. But I knew I could get a scholarship and get my education covered while playing the sport I love. And I think that's super important because, yes, we're athletes and, yes, sport is huge, but we do need the education because at some point I do have to move on and move past softball as a player, which is sad to say, and it's not happening anytime soon.
Rocky didn't give you a job for life? What?
Right?
Rocky.
So, and I do love the sport and I want to be a part of it forever, but I think, you do have to transition to a real job or, whatever you're passionate about outside of sport. So I think it is really important for girls to go post-secondary, and if they have the opportunity to be able to, get given that through sport is awesome. And, and then from there on, you might have an opportunity to be with the national team or whatever that looks like for you. But a lot of girls unfortunately don't. And then you're kind of done with college or university, and then you got to have something coming home. So I think sport gives you a lot of opportunities, and going to university, getting a scholarship is just one of them.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, thanks, Emma, for that. Raj?
Am I allowed to go now?
Yeah, you're allowed to go.
Yeah,
sorry, I just had two questions.
Hey, no
Sorry.
worries.
Well,
that's those are great questions, and Rocky, you and I've talked about this, about the difference between what the boys get and what the girls get, and this is huge because I have one of each. My son goes to school in Eastern Oregon University, plays baseball, and he has these opportunities, and they're quite large. And then my daughter goes to Texas and plays softball, and her opportunities are quite small. And at sooner or later, it's gotta somehow even out. I don't think there will be pro softball for all over North America, but there's got to be. It's got to get. Well, we got to close the gap.
Just on that though, Raj, is that I don't think, and I don't know, and maybe Rocky, you could help fill this gap. Is how do scholarships work? Are there only so many allotted scholarships, and say a school has 40, and I don't know. I'm just how do scholarships work?
So in the sport that we do, softball, Division I can only offer, University of Washington can only offer 12.6 scholarships.
That's it.
So you can see 40 girls out there. They're lucky if they get 50%. A 50% scholarship at Div 1 is considered a full ride. Oh. So, and then it goes down from there. Your Division 1's can do 12.6. Your Division 2, 9.7. The Division 3, nothing. Division 3 has no athletic scholarships. So NAIA depends on what that little school has for money. They can offer up to 20, but it could be $2,000. Junior colleges seem to have a lot more money. I have 3 girls signing early in November, and so for a Canadian to sign early is monumental.
Wow.
I have 3 signing full rides to Texas. And we haven't played in the States in 2 years. So the connections the academy has, we've placed over 300 kids in the States in the last 16 years. And that's a real hidden gem in this town, how that occurs. It occurs because we have huge connections. We sit in our office today talking about different schools that we both know, and coaches that we can call, and coaches we can talk to. But in our sport of softball, it's small. Why is it? Because softball is not a moneymaker. Your Division I sport, football, basketball, drive all the funds to a university. Title IX dictates that for every boy scholarship, there's a girl scholarship. So for me, I look for schools that have football. Okay, boom, you got 80. Okay, that means there's 80 girls. But you go across the street to Seattle University from UW who have no football. Seattle University Div 1 has 3 softball scholarships. 3. That's all they have. So
Well, that's what I was
you look at the girls on that team, they might have 20, 25. There's a lot of girls paying to play. That's just the way it is. And so when people up here in Canada think scholarship, we push academics first because every coach will say, how strong is the student? So that I can give her more. There's a lot more academic money than there is athletic money. So it's really, for someone to say in poor little Cumberland, going to try to find a scholarship in the States, it's hard. Unless you got someone beating the door down, someone calling, it's hard because you're fighting against all the American athletes.
And there's lots of them.
Yeah.
So can you go to school and play for your national team? Is that allowed? Mm-hmm. Because the reason I ask that is I know for a fact that funding for the Olympics comes from Own the Podium. Mm-hmm. Is that not? It's going into the program. It's not actually going into the athlete. Essentially, I guess down the line, but
you know that better than me.
Yeah.
So can you explain that, Emma?
Yeah. Well, fortunately enough, a lot of the national team and international tournaments occur in the summer. So, while I was in college, we were just competing for Pan American Games. We were competing for World Championships. Various international tournaments. But moving towards the Olympics, I think that was a little different. Own the Podium funds Canadian national teams, and the higher you up or the more likely you are to own the podium, meaning gold, silver, bronze, the more money you get as a program, and that's just as a general program, meaning funding to fly to Japan early to train, like we were fortunate enough. So I think we're still paid as athletes through Sport Canada, but that Own the Podium is going to our team, but that's also opening up kind of just more opportunities for us to get to that level. The past couple of years, we've had to commit basically full time, which has been tough for a lot of us. A couple moms on the team, a couple girls having to put a pause on school, a couple having to just quit jobs. And I'd love to say we get paid like an MLB player, but the facts are we just don't. So for a lot of us, it's the passion of playing the sport you love, because you're not really living off the money we're getting. You can try to, but I feel like, especially living here, you definitely can't do that. So Own the Podium has given us a lot. They have funded us and given us those, the money to be able to open up opportunities to prep and get ready. And, for us, they knew we were ranked 3rd in the world. So they're putting money into us, hoping that we're going to kind of bring that medal back for Canada because,
right.
As sport, that's what really matters.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when Own the Podium first started, it was basically with the premise of taking athletes who were injured in their sport, like the guy from Hamilton Tiger Cats. What was his name? I can't remember his name offhand right now, but they made Jesse Lumsden.
Oh, yeah, right.
And he got hurt playing with the Ticats, couldn't play football anymore, so they made him a bobsledder, and now he's winning Olympics and and stuff like that. That was the original premise of On the Podium. That was years ago. When it got into the funding and stuff like that was later on. But I love that premise of taking an athlete already in his prime, and turning him like Clara Hughes. I think she went through the On the Podium and then she went to cycling. So awesome. That's great. Thanks, Emma.
So Emma, now that we're touching on the Olympics, I want to hear your journey. I want to hear like the sacrifices that you made. I want to hear the travel that you did and the good and the bad.
Hold up the medal, Raj.
Hey, yeah, it's right here.
Look at this, folks.
This is a bronze. And
wow,
this thing
it is heavy. It is heavy.
I can't believe how heavy it is.
I can attest to that. It is heavy.
So,
wow,
yeah, I want to hear about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, journey started since I was probably 5 and I first started playing baseball. But yeah, for the past, let's say 3 years, I think that's when it really started to pick up. 4 years ago, they announced it was going to be in 2020. I think that was huge for softball in Canada, just softball in the world. They took it out in 2008, and that was frustrating for a lot of us. So for them to bring it back, it was really like, as a world, we really wanted to make that impact to just prove to them softball deserves to be in there. I think for me, 2017, I got cut. 2017 was a tough year. 2016 was my first year on the national team. I was an alternate, so I think my role on the team was very different than it is now. And just, I was there for development. I was there to kind of soak everything up, learn everything I could from all the vets and just the girls on the team. And opportunities opened up, and I had a chance to really get a spot on the team in 2017. And I think that was a really tough year for me. Flat out, head coach just kind of said, look, you're not prepared. You showed up to camp overweight, out of shape. And he was just, it was no sugarcoating it, straight to the point. And I think at the time I was really frustrated and in denial and was like, no, I did. I did put in the work. I was in college. That was my junior year of college. I felt like I did everything I needed to. And then I kind of was like, all right. So I stepped away from the game. I didn't really play that summer, and I had some self-reflection to do. And, I realized he was right. I realized that I kind of had slipped away. I was in college, but I was still playing. But it's more than that. It's more than just waking up and playing the games. It's, your physical fitness. It's your nutrition. It's getting extra reps in the cage. Just because you're in season, that doesn't change anything. And so I had a choice to make. I had a choice to either quit and kind of end there and be done with the national team, or make the changes. And I think I really wanted to prove him wrong. I didn't want to go out like that. And I think, so I made the decision I went back my senior year, worked with my nutritionist, my strength coach, and set out the goal to be better for that next year. And ended up losing like 20 pounds and kind of was in the best shape I had ever been. And I think until then, I didn't really realize how important the other sides of the game are within strength and conditioning, fitness, nutrition. Like, they're key parts of the game. And I think Rocky, talks about it in high school and in Lambrick, and I knew that. But I think till you kind of are living it and breathing it, and you're in college and you're feeding yourself, and your parents aren't there to make you a healthy, delicious meal every night. So I made that decision, and I came back and made the national team in 2018. 2018 was World Championships in Japan, another big year. We ended up getting bronze there, but my role there was, I wasn't an alternate at that point. I made a spot, and I was a bench player. I did not play a whole lot. And Jen Salling actually was the third baseman at the time. I was kind of there. I had to just wait around and wait for my opportunities. And opportunities came, and I didn't play a whole lot that summer. But I got into some games and just learning. How do I learn from all these girls? How do I get to the next level? How am I growing my game? And then moving into 2019, we obviously COVID's coming up, and it's going to hit us in 2020, but I had a lot of opportunities with the Pro League. We were playing in a Pro League and playing down in Illinois for the Canadian Wild, and more opportunities came, and I performed, and I just kept kind of rolling around, and eventually I earned that spot at third base, and that was pretty cool. I honestly, if I look back the year before, I didn't think I was ever going to be in that spot. At that time, I was like, all right, I'm shooting for like maybe the 15th spot on the the Olympic roster, like as the extra kind of, let's just be there if I need to be utility. Like I've always been athletic. I've always just kind of been there. And then I earned that spot. And then it was kind of my spot to lose or keep. And moving forward to 2020, Jen Salling is probably my biggest mentor. And she kind of took me under her wing and helped me develop into the athlete I wanted to be as a hitter and as a infielder. And yeah, I ended up moving into the Olympics in 2021, and I was a starting third baseman. And I think it's crazy to see, like 2 years behind, thinking that I was never gonna step foot on the field as the third baseman to actually believing it and being that person and knowing that I deserved to be there. So I think I had to do a mindset change, but I also had to put in the work. And I think for me, your confidence comes through preparation, and it was the endless reps, the endless time in the cage, physical fitness, nutrition, like it's everything. And I can go out there and confidently be like, okay, like let's just go play. And I think for a lot of people, they battle with confidence and being able to find that. And I think preparation is such a huge part of that. If I know I've done everything I can in the gym and in the cages and on the field to be ready for that moment, then when I go out there, all I do is just go out and play. So yeah, that's kind of a long story of a long journey, but it was great. I mean, that was my journey up to it. Being able to win bronze, with those girls was amazing. They're an amazing group of girls, and I've never been a part of a team like that before. 4 of the girls played in 08 and lost in the bronze medal game against Australia. So for them as well, I think that was huge. They're all now retiring, so just kind of rewriting history, and I think it's opened up a lot of opportunities for softball in Canada and softball in the world, and hopefully we can get softball back in. And sadly, it's not 2024, but I'll be 32 in 2028, so I think I can do it. But once it's, in there in LA, and then it's Brisbane in 2032, so hopefully we can get softball back in for good and for the next generation, because at that point I probably won't be in, but I really, these girls that I'm coaching and mentoring, I'm hoping that one day they can also live out the dream and represent Canada and just show them that it's possible, but you definitely have to put the work in, and there's definitely going to be ups and downs through it, but it's kind of how you handle yourself throughout that and throughout the adversity and change and challenge. And like, that's when you're growing, is when you're uncomfortable and things might not be the way you want them to be, but that's when you get to your best, and that's when you get to that next level. So hopefully I can use my, expertise in the sport and just my experiences to inspire that next generation of athletes.
Well, that's so cool. I know that the commitment level, like, I know that
you lost me at gym and nutrition. Emma, you parked at A&W tonight, did you not? No, that's not gonna.
I'm not eating there.
No, but you did park at A&W, right?
I did, correct.
Yeah, you know the guy beside you,
No.
the black car, eating a hamburger and the onion rings.
Was it you?
Me. Just so you know, I'm like, oh, please don't let that be Emma. It's Emma.
Well, what got me was a commitment. Like Danielle Laurie has 2 little kids, and she was away from them for, I think it was like 4 months. How long was it? Well, you were away for this.
Yeah, for all the Canadian-based girls that live in Canada, they were all 6 months. And then the girls that live in the U.S. were able to have a couple breaks. But for most of us, it was a long time away. I don't think I've ever been away from my family for 6 months. But when you're driven with a goal and a dream, I think it makes it worth it. But for them, for sure, everyone has their significant other and family. For me, it's just family at home. They have their children. I think everyone had to make sacrifices. Our whole coaching staff, they also have families at home. So I think everyone had to make those sacrifices, and they were all different. But we knew that if this was what we wanted to live out and make happen, we knew we all had to do that, and we knew we were all bought into that. So I think that was really important, that we trusted that everyone was doing everything they needed to be ready for those moments. And you're doing it together. Like, that's the best part as a team. You're individually sacrificing things, but so is the girl next to you or the teammate next to you. So I think it makes it worth it when we dogpile for bronze. I think all of it made it worth it.
Did you stay for the entire Olympics, or did you leave? Were you there when Canada won the gold?
No, sadly, that was probably the worst for me.
Oh,
I've never
sorry.
been, no, it's okay. For me, I've never been to Olympics, so
Could you have stayed? Were you allowed?
no. So we had 24
Oh.
hours to get out of the country after our
What?
game. So it was like, come home.
Why?
Actually, the Canadian Olympic Committee, it was their rule for 24 hours, and then the Japanese government was 48 hours. So it would have been awesome. I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, normally you can go to.
So
other
the closing
events.
ceremony, you weren't allowed to stay.
No. And we didn't go to opening because we played at 10 a.m. the next day. So we were there to win, and it wasn't worth it. It would have been cool to go to opening, but we knew we had decided as a team that we weren't going to go.
Okay. Was that announced, or is that? I don't think that was.
I knew that they only had. I thought it was 36, but 24 hours.
Really? Because of COVID?
Well,
Or is that-
it was just rules because of COVID.
Okay.
But it was when was it after your game or after the gold medal game?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, we left that next afternoon anyways. But I think, 80% of the country of Japan didn't want the Olympics to happen.
No,
so
exactly.
The fact that they even went on and happened
Yeah.
was awesome. I mean, everyone we saw, all the Japanese that were volunteers, they were all super gung-ho about it.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to know that, but I'm sure off the village and off the venues,
What were those shitty beds like?
they were not. Honestly, I slept the best.
Get out of here! Did you really?
Yeah, cardboard beds, but you actually could. You would lay there and they would do a body scan of you, and based on your body scan, it would say, okay, move this cardboard piece over and flip the mattress this way. So
Of
it was
course.
all technology. It was all
Yeah.
about sustainability. That
Yeah.
was their big goal.
With an app.
When I was in Japan, they didn't have that. I had a bed that was about this long, and the shower was about this tall.
Really?
About right.
It was.
And it wasn't made of cardboard.
No, it wasn't made of cardboard.
So, and I got another question for Rocky. Then is what?
You're full of questions.
Well, I'm intrigued by this. The when you watch people achieving their goals, what does that make you feel like? Is it like watching your own kid?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of kids. It seems like, every one of them, the kids that come through the academy, it's always about being successful, about being able to reach the dream you started. And so for me, there's some of my probably less athletes who have come into the academy who have achieved great things are my glory stories. Emma is a great story.
Yeah.
But Emma was going to be good at something no matter what happened. I mean, I was able to help her, yes. But for some kids, it's actually taking them by the hand and pulling them out of that hole they're in and showing them that they actually can be somebody, especially girls. Girls have very little self-confidence, and boys have way too much confidence. So having 110 athletes that I deal with every day, your hope is, every day I tell them, I will never tell you you're good. That's for your parents to tell you. Because as soon as I tell you you're good, you stop working. And this is just a real small, we're on an island. You're trying to get to a real big world, and you have to compete. We're lucky at the academy to have a lot of role models. Emma coming back is full turn. My son, Carson, who is a coach with the Seattle Mariners, is another story like Emma's. A grinder, wasn't supposed to be, but here he is coaching in the major leagues. The academy is lucky to have those people that come in and say, I sat in that chair. I sat in that locker room. I've been here where you're at. And you can get to where you want to be, but there's no shortcuts.
Have you seen an increase in kids in mental health?
COVID hurt a lot of kids, a lot of athletes. COVID hurt, I think, them more than, kids who want to be active and could not be active. I mean, I thank my lucky stars that I was not last year's graduating class. They spent 2 years losing out on what high school's about. No dances, no no sports. I don't know if I don't know if Emma would be who she is today if you lived in that environment of not being able to be the things you love. And where it also has hurt is that every athlete in the state has been given an extra year of eligibility. So that has backed up the process. That's backed up the bus. So grade 12s last year, trying to find some place for them to play was hard because coaches would say, Rock, I got to wait and see who's coming back, who's taking the extra year, there's only so much money and depends on who all comes back. COVID really hurt the last 2 generations. That really hurt those kids. And I don't know if you ever can get, I think, can you ever get all that back? Because
No, probably not.
I don't think
I don't
I'd be who I am today if I didn't have all that high school experience. And so mental health,
Yes.
huge, and kids deal with a lot more than we used to deal with. I mean, there's a lot more separation family. There's so many things. Emma can test after being there just a few days. We do a lot of counseling. We do a lot of counseling in our department, and that's just the way the nature has changed. And the academy, when you have someone every day for 4 years, it's not like math class. You see the teacher 1 year, you see them maybe the third year. In the academy, we see them every day for 4 years. We're really close. And like a family, sometimes you always don't get along. But you get to know each other. Emma I sent Emma on an emergency today. We had a little girl who had some troubles. And that's one of the biggest reasons I have a female on the staff. It's also hard to tell the school district that you need that, but they just think union stuff, but not the importance of having female with female, and supporting that girl who had a tough day today. So, yeah, mental health is part of that culture.
I think that's actually going to be my next show is mental health. I deal with it with the junior football team, the Rebels.
Yeah,
that's actually I volunteer. I go to practice probably 3 nights a week.
Yeah,
I talk to kids, and I've done it for the last 3 years. And for the football team, there's 65 or 70 guys.
Yeah.
Half of them, or over half of them, don't come from Victoria.
Yeah.
And
Raj, I talk to my buddies. I have not pubs anymore. It's COVID, but point is this: is you talk like, oh yeah, that's and what's that, anxiety and all this, and I bet I'm sure I had that. ADHD. And I tell them, I go, well, we had concussions back then, and we didn't even know it was concussions. No. Like you just got your bell rung, you see some stars. I don't even know how many times that happened to me as a kid. So I do struggle. I struggle myself personally. I'm my own worst critic. I can spot it in others, but the key with having a disability of anxiety or depression is that when someone's bullshitting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just know. You know with what? A victim of any kind, unless you've experienced that, like you know what I mean. It's there are just certain traits that people do that and it's no joke. It's when you're down and you're suffering.
It's huge.
The only person you can talk to is someone else that does. And it's not words. It's really bizarre. When you're speaking to someone like-minded, as opposed to someone trying to cheer you up.
And we have to cut through that a lot in a day.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
we have kids have become clinically educated.
100%.
And using it in the wrong way and using it in
100%.
Where it's not.
As an excuse.
You are just... You've learned this trait.
Yes.
And
your brother might, your sister might.
Yeah.
You don't.
But you have to go through it and be careful.
There's a fine line.
There's a fine line.
But
You have to know the child. You have to know the kid.
Or you have to have it yourself.
And you have to know the circumstances.
Yeah.
And you know, like I deal with kids and on the football team, and you know, like when I grew up, I didn't know not one of my friends had a single parent, not one. And
where I live.
And now it's changed so much where, you know, I bet you there's half a dozen kids that don't have either parent.
Well, see, that's the thing. So I want to talk about this. I mean, this is probably, you know, we have an aspect of older, younger. Are kids softer today than they were before? Is it? I mean, is that a fair question? I don't know.
I don't think they're softer.
What?
I shouldn't say that. I think that if you look at my generation, so I was born in the 60s, I think you had to be tougher, but I don't think that necessarily that equates to kids today being softer. It's different. It's a way different society. I never grew up. I would be a mess if I grew up in today's society, and I think that that's what it is. You have to.
Okay, so what? I mean, even the fact that I have to soften, the word soften, just probably answers my own question, and the answer is yes to that. There is a dynamic shift. There is a shift, complete shift, where today a coach of our era or whatever would have a really hard time. I can't coach a girls' softball team now, just not because I'm not allowed. It's because I would never put myself in that situation. Period. End of story. Well, because of culture, this, that. But I don't. That's just me. I've tried. You know, whatever. I'm just. But like, is the athlete themselves? Are they softer? I don't know. I don't know how else to put it.
Come on, Rock.
You know, being in Lambrick for 34 years, I've seen a lot of athletes come and go, and I've seen the changes. Things have changed. For us, I'll give you an example. Baseball in town. We have so many teams, you have to be bad not to be on a team. You have to be bad, bad. But because you put on a uniform, you're good, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the thing for me with the academy is that it's college preparatory. I play a different role than all my coaches. I play the role of setting the standard, saying what's right and what's wrong, and not accepting certain things. Maybe I'm the bad cop. Maybe that's what I am at times. But at the same time, I'm honest and straightforward, and there's a guideline. And I think in most cases, kids have not had the guidelines. They've stepped over them and been allowed to step over them. Don't know where to stop.
Yes.
Because it's been allowed. I've been allowed to be late. I've been allowed to miss practice. I've been allowed to not tell the truth where I was at that time. We have a rule at the academy that if you come in my office or our office and I ask you a question, I know the answer.
Yeah,
So
facetious.
Let's deal with this now and get on with this, because every kid makes a mistake, but we can't keep making the same mistake.
Emma, is there a difference between an Olympic coach and a Devils coach?
I mean, the coaches should be treated the same. The only really difference is probably just their knowledge of the sport. But I think that's where it's tough, because I feel like you've got, like, they're both coaches, and they're both someone, you know, someone might be volunteering versus someone might be getting paid for their job. But I still think that within that, like, you know, I think people don't want to be wrong, or people don't want to fail, is the feeling I kind of get when I think about just maybe when I was in high school versus the kids there now. That just, like, they kind of want it to just all plan out exactly the way you want it to. But in reality, when you grow and when you develop, that's when you're uncomfortable and things go wrong and you're challenged. And I think sometimes we lose out on that a bit because...
But I'm more interested in tolerance. Like, like, are national coaches less tolerant to a athlete if they are not listening or not practicing, or like you're done? Like, I'm coaching. I'm only coaching Olympians here. I'm not coaching Susie.
They have tons of other kids to choose from. So
Right.
it's like, hey, get out of here. Now with the Devils team, 14 try out, 14 make it. Well, if I'm kicking a girl off the team or whatever it looks like, you don't really have any other options. Where with the national team, it's like these are the standards we've made as a program. You either live up to them or you don't.
Does that make you a harder player?
I mean, it makes you work for what you get.
Okay,
I think, but that's what I personally think as Softball Canada and as the women's national team is that's why we were so successful is we made these standards and everybody bought into them. I didn't have to worry that my teammate next to me wasn't doing their job. We knew that everybody was bought in to what we believed in, our, like we call them gold medal standards. Because the moment you're on a team and I'm looking over at the girl beside me and I'm worried about
your job,
them not doing their job, then I'm losing concentration on what I'm trying to do. So I think with the national team versus maybe a travel ball team, you're bought into these standards, and if you're in, great, but if you're not, kind of get out, where I don't think the level...
Does that make you a better person?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, because you have to follow through on your word. You have to actually work for things. You actually have to do the things, you need to be there. You're
accountable.
You're not just like, here's the spot and you're given it and you can kind of just coast and you've made the team and you're now a member and now you just think you can just walk around and not really do a whole lot.
Yeah. Is that what you try to instill, Rock?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can blame it all on the kids anymore. For who they are. I think in our experience right now, adults, if my son isn't starting, I'm going to go find a team that he can start. If I'm working with a coach and I don't like what that coach is saying, I'm going to go find that coach that says exactly what I want to hear.
You are?
Yeah. And, when we grew up, when I went home and said, Dad, I got benched because I said I couldn't make a left-handed layup. My dad said, well, I guess you better learn how to make a left-handed layup. He didn't go looking for a new school.
Exactly.
But now it's like,
good point.
Especially in our sport, it's one of the reasons Glory's developed. We'd get disgruntled parents and they just take their kids and go to another park.
So true.
And
so true.
It's like there's no loyal. I can remember when I first came to town.
They don't trust the process.
No. They want a shortcut.
Absolutely.
And instead of waiting your turn, where the athletes that Emma has played with or my son has played with, you got guys who were, played with my son at Creighton that were Nebraska Gatorade Players of the Year. They didn't get a chance to play until their senior year in college because there's a process, but they understood that.
Right. And Emma just hit on that. She was cut. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a message to send to a kid, I guess, not putting your words in your mouth, Emma, but you already said it. But basically, it's like, I could have gave up. I could have went home. I could have packed my bags. See you later. But trusting the process is one of the things after 13 years of doing ISN, and I get these emails from, it's like, holy shit, enough. Like, maybe because it's not good enough. Like, maybe that's it.
And I say that to parents. If you're going to ask me the question, be prepared for the answer.
Yeah.
Because you really don't know NCAA, NAI. You don't know the world. You're trusting the kid to come to us so that we can find that pathway. But if you think you know the pathway, then you got to take them somewhere else because we're conflicting.
This is to both of you, and I don't even feel like I'm doing a podcast right now, Rod, you prick. This to both of you, and Raj, you too. Do you think there are kids playing sports right now, this very second, that don't want to play?
Tons.
100%.
Yes.
Tons.
What do you do?
They play because their parents, they feel obligated to their parents because either dad thinks they're the next Wayne Gretzky or whatever. There's tons of kids that are playing sports today that don't want to play sports.
Emma?
And that's sad.
It is
Because
sad, and
think-
I know for a
think-
fact.
I think
I was one of them.
I think that it's sad because at one point in that child's life, they probably loved that sport, but they've got driven to not love that sport.
And I have an answer for this. I'll tell you after I hear all, but I have a solution, I should say, to this. I'll tell you after. But Emma, what do you think? Same question.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Do you know of any?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, wow.
And I think that I've met teammates along the way, and you just know, right? Like you can just tell. And I think going to college was a prime example of that.
Interesting.
But my head coach was huge on like, this is a family. So like, hey, if you don't love this sport, that's okay. But I'm not just going to abandon you. You're still part of this Spartan program, and I'm still going to get you through with the scholarship you have and get your education. I think a lot of athletes are getting burnt out because of the commitment. I know for me growing up, I played every sport I could, and I loved that. And I think I'm the person I am today and the athlete I am today because of that. And I encourage every athlete out there to do that, because now we're so specific on, I have to play ball every day of the year. And then by the time it comes to the goal you want, people don't even really want it at that point, because they're almost just like so done with it. And I think every sport gives you something different. I think you have to enjoy being a kid. You have to enjoy growing up, enjoying high school, enjoying playing sports with all of your friends. Like, best part about going to Lambrick, the girls that were in the academy were the girls I played volleyball with the girls I played soccer with the girls I played basketball with.
Multi-sport.
Right? And I think multi-sport is so
Go
important.
have fun with your buddies.
In how you are as a person and as an athlete, and how your body moves,
100%.
your body's developing. And I think it takes away a little bit of that burnout.
Yeah.
Because I think there's the pressures from the parents when maybe the kids don't want to do it, and just.
But what do you think holds them back then? I mean, if it's a family and that's your buddies and in multi-sports, you think one of your buddies would come to you and say, this is killing me. I'm getting pressure from mom and dad back home. I can't do this. Like, why don't they?
I mean, I think it's hard to be vulnerable. I really think that's super. And I've found just growing up, like, being vulnerable and open about something is tough. And I mean, you might have two kids that are both struggling with it, and then you get to the point and it's like, okay, like maybe there's a conversation there. Yeah. But you're still opening up and having that conversation with a friend. And I don't think everyone, it's sometimes perceived as like a weakness to say
that is
that.
it.
And I think that's sad. And it's okay to say, like, I'm not okay, and I'm struggling with this, and I'm not enjoying myself. But in society, unfortunately, like, that's perceived as being weak. And I think it's changing. I think it's, the platforms out there and everyone is, talking about, like, it's okay to say that something's not going the way you want it to, or you're struggling with something. It leads to mental healthness. Like, I just think being open and being vulnerable and, like, being okay to say that and just be open to people.
Well, you have to. Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make here, is that there is no choice. If you don't want to do this, holding it in, keeping it, blah, 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 is not an option. We've come so far in ways of sexuality or whatever, but there's just this stigma that you have to keep up. I don't know. I don't get it. But I'd like to hear your answer.
When you talk about the multi-sport, I mean, Emma her senior year was the multi-sport athlete in BC. I mean, she won the Golden Boot in soccer. She was the leading scorer in basketball in the provincials. I needed help with the tennis team, threw her a racket. We won the doubles. And that's why the academy was built. Why did I start this academy? Is so that kids would be multi-sport athletes, that you could get your sport done during the school day. And I was a basketball coach at Lambrick for 20-some years. I want kids to be multi-sport athletes.
So important.
I mean, if you look at the good athletes in the States, they're all multi-sport. We up here all of a sudden suffocate a kid. Soccer will suffocate them. Hockey will suffocate them. And for me, this was a way to let the kids come and get their training in during school and now go be whatever you want to be. And talking about, I think sometimes kids just don't know how to walk away, just like it'll be hard for Emma to walk away from her uniform, or for us walk away from my uniform. It was an identity. Now what do I do? And what do my dad wants me to play? My mom wants me to play. My grandma used to come and, like, this poor kid is now letting everyone down, even though she doesn't even really know where to go. And what am I going to do with my free time now? Or I just don't like it. And I've
what's wrong with that? I just don't like it.
I've had meetings with parents where I have said at the end, you need to go home and introduce yourself to your daughter, because you don't know her. You don't know what she really wants.
So here's my solution. Okay.
Okay.
No, and I have. It's just because
Scott.
No, Dr. Scott. Again, it's simple. Like everything else in life, the solution is usually real simple. I know for a fact in every dressing room, every sideline, every this, every that, from kids from, say, 6, 7 years old up until you're 14, 13, they cringe when it's soccer practice or baseball, or they just don't want to play. And in the arenas and the dressing rooms and hockey, and quite simply, a form, real simple stuff. Do you want to play next year, Billy, Sally? Yes? No? Hit a box. That's it. No? Oh, okay. Coach gets it. Manager. Here's your form back, parent. Now, obviously, you need a conversation, because he does not want to play. And maybe there's another sport. But to have that kid go to his mom and dad after buying gear that year, after doing this, after all these things, kids aren't stupid, right? But they are vulnerable and they are afraid. Kids do get scared.
Without a doubt.
Right?
They get afraid, but I don't think they're afraid to disappoint.
Sure they are. Our kids want to please for the most part, right?
That's right.
But it could be a coach. I could be intimidated by a coach. Maybe I do want to play, but I don't want to play for him.
That's very
so
true. That's what we're all here for.
But that is the issue of I don't want to play. So maybe you do, maybe you don't, but we have to have a conversation. If you don't want to play, you don't want to play. Because what happens, and I'll tell you what happens, and I've seen it far too much, and it's where all of a sudden the kid goes along, and all of a sudden we're going to put you in this hockey academy for $40,000 a year, but I don't even want to fucking play, right? Well, no, what do you mean you don't want to play? So, it's how far do you go? And the kid could be really good at it, but I'm not here to what all I'm saying is I know there are kids right now today, all over, not just in Canada, everywhere, that are playing a sport they don't want to play. It's not a lot, but one's too many.
Yeah, and I think part of the program with the Glory is that we want to have kids be able to talk, to be able to speak.
Key.
And be able to have a mentor saying, that's okay, you don't have to. That's okay, you want to be a doctor.
Sure.
We have girls, we'll call Sydney. Sydney will Zoom with you. We'll talk about how the pathway to being a doctor.
I just want to play house league. Something like that.
Yes.
I just want to play with my buddies, scrub.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Right? So, I mean, is that hard to do? I mean, because when I asked the question, we have an Olympic bronze medalist, esteemed coach. You've been around forever. You got 2 kids in school, but you all answered. When you hear this, when you watch this or hear it, we're in over, and it is on Spotify, iTunes, and everything. Emma, tell all your buddies, by the way. YouTube. When you do hear this, you will hear that you all answered yes simultaneously, and it took no time at all. So clearly, there is an issue.
I had a daughter walk away. Danielle walked away after 1 year in college. It wasn't what she wanted to do, but I didn't look at it as a failure, because I've talked with.
Did you feel that you were a failure?
No.
No, of course not.
The failure would have been if she hadn't tried. But to come home afterwards, no. I mean, that's what I've said to every academy family. It's okay to go away and decide it's not what you want to do. It's hard, though, if you never go away and then you sit back and say, I wish I tried.
Well, that's where I think the stigma lies, is that I don't want to be 30 years from now going, oh, man, I wish I would have done that.
Correct.
And meanwhile, you weren't really into it. So it works both ways.
But you got it where I'll be at a party and someone will say, oh, the kid quit and came back home. Hold it. There's more to that story than the kid quit.
Yeah, of course there
You
is.
know, and what a waste. Oh, but it's not a waste that, you know, the other guy he's talking to went to Australia for backtrack for a year.
Yeah.
That wasn't like,
No, exactly.
which is a waste. Like,
Yeah.
You're both is a learning.
Yeah,
You decide
100%.
you don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
Check the box.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
You met some good people. I'm sure you had a great year.
Yep.
But it's not a waste. You grew up.
It's life.
You grew up.
You got to know bad to know good.
Well, you
and
know
I
what
went-
you want.
I went through that with my son when he went to his first junior college, and it wasn't what he envisioned it to be.
Right.
And, you know, he went down there on a full ride scholarship to
Right.
the same college that Nick Pavetta went to.
Right.
And it was all built up, and then they changed coaches, and he got cut.
Wow.
And here's your son who's 17 years old and in another country.
Yeah.
And he's ready to jump off a bridge because he just got cut, and he's hurt, he's embarrassed, and
meanwhile,
It just-
20 years from now, he's going to
just-
say, you
but-
went far. Like,
but he some kids will pull the pin, and some kids will bear down and work. And
Yeah.
fortunately for him, he
Yeah.
had his second Tommy John surgery.
wow.
3 months ago, and he works out about 5 hours a day
Right.
coming back, so he's going back to school. But the point of it is that those experiences are such life lessons, and I think you probably have had so many of those life lesson experiences throughout your whole career, like getting cut, coming back, thinking that you're going to be like the 15th player and actually being a starter. You learn so much about who you are and what you are, and I think it's awesome. And maybe you can comment to that, like.
Yeah, I think sport has given me a lot of opportunities, and sports have given me many obstacles and challenges and good and bad experiences. But I don't think I would be the person I am today without all of those. And yeah, I think it's part of it. You know, you go through really great times when things are just going the way you want it to, and then you get in a place where you don't want to be, and it sucks, and it's hard, and it's challenging, and then, you know, you decide, like, you make a decision. What am I going to do? All right, I'm going to decide to work, whatever that is, and I get out of it. But you grew through that, and you learn something about yourself, and you're just constantly learning. So I think whatever it is, like, everybody has a different passion, and I think that's the super cool thing that I'm really looking forward to with this new program, is that, like Rock was saying, that mentorship. Because whether you're a house player and that's just where you want to be, you want to just play the sport because you love it and you have fun playing it, and you want to just enjoy it with the girls on your team at that age, then that's great. If you want to maybe play A and do that, then that's great too. Or you want to be a doctor, that's also great. I think the goals are still the
Or a
same.
podcast host.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's on the top.
No, eh?
Yeah,
All
and
right,
it's all
whatever.
about, you have goals on whatever you're passionate about, and I think it doesn't have to be sport. It can be whatever you want it to be, and I think throughout going to school to become a doctor, you're still going to go through challenges that come with that. Just because it's not a sport doesn't mean you're not going to go through the challenges, and I think going through those challenges helps shape the person you are after that as well. So I think, yeah, I mean, challenges are good, ups and downs are good, and it's how you are as a person. And
I have a question for a bronze medalist, and I've always wanted to know this. Is it better winning a bronze than losing
heard
the
this question
gold?
before. Yeah, I was on another podcast and they asked that question. I mean, we were going for gold. That's what we wanted,
Sure.
and I think we lost a couple games, heartbreakers. We lost 1-0 to the U.S. and then we lost 3-2 to Japan in extra innings. And at that point we knew we hadn't made it into the gold medal game. And I think yeah, you wanted to be in that game 100%. We could have gone into that game and we could have lost in the gold medal game. We could have gone into it and we could have won. So we never really know. But going out on a high definitely is awesome. I think we had to kind of change our mindset because we were so set on gold and like just heartbroken that we weren't going to be in that game. But it was like, okay, on to the next, kind of have short-term memory and move on to the next thing that's there. Like we still had a chance to make history. We still had a chance to bring home a medal. So to answer that question, I mean, yeah, it was great to win, you know, and go out on a win. But it also would have been nice to be. I can't really.
No, it's good. You know what? Because
Like,
personally, I've seen of the girls and the guys, like girls at soccer, when they got the silver. I'm like, they're devastated. And then I see people winning the bronze, and like, woo! Like they're just like over the moon.
Yeah, in the moment, I think maybe the experience is different.
We got a medal
because you're losing to get silver and you're winning to get bronze. But looking back on it after, I mean, you were ahead, you were there. But it's all about the experiences and the journey throughout it. So I think
tough question.
Yeah,
I got it.
I don't know. I'm just happy with my bronze medal right now.
I'd be happy with it too.
Yeah.
This bronze
That one there.
In front of you. I don't know why it's in front of you.
Well, I think I don't know neither. Why is it in front of me? But
I don't know.
because
I'm not done with it yet, though. Like we're gonna wrap up here soon, Raj. But I'm definitely
going to
getting
be watching this, and that will take away from my face.
Perfect.
So there you go. Whoa.
Do you have any more of those, Emma? No,
I have a few teammates that do.
Okay, yeah, are we ready to wrap this up?
I think so, Raj.
Some closing comments. Rocky, what do you got?
Well, the only thing that I go back just a step, when I talk about challenges, we sit in our office now for the next, trying to place our grade 12s, right? And we talked today, like 3 of them. Tomorrow I'm confirming their scholarship at their school, and they'll sign early, just like the U.S. will do the presentation. But you also walk out after they go and go, who do you think really will make it? And I've been fooled. The ones who I thought would just like rocket, they're ready, they're going to settle in and be it. No. And then there'll be the one that go,
didn't see that coming.
no. And boom.
Yeah.
She's there for 3 years and by herself in a small town of Nebraska, and no one would have ever dreamt that.
No, I know who you're talking about.
So it's like we sit and go like, what will happen? But that's not my job or Emma's job. Our job is to open doors and hope that the kids grow up or get there.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this before we end.
Yep.
Are we headed towards, are we getting the athlete with the richest parents? Or are we getting the best athletes?
Here's what I think. When you can make things like this, like like our academy, which is cheap compared to the elite programs in the U.S. or travel programs, when you can make an availability of working with Emma for $8 an hour, and not $100 an hour, or when you can make an academy where you're paying $150 a month, but we're paving the way for you, where you can make it. Now we're getting everyone in the sport that can be there, but
it's affordable.
But when you're talking hockey academies at $40,000, you can go out to Calgary to Boxall, and that's $40,000 for that academy.
Okotoks.
Yeah, I mean,
but you must agree with me, Rock, is that there are kids that are poor that just don't get the chance, and they're outstanding athletes.
No,
and it's a shame. We can't do everybody, but we can't fix the world. But there are those kids out there.
There are.
Okay.
And it's heartbreaking.
It really is.
And with the academy, we do help kids. We help.
Good for you, buddy.
Kids.
And we'll put all the links and everything. Raj, make sure you get everything, all the information and the stuff that we need, because you know what? Until today, I had no idea what you guys were doing.
Because you remember, the academy is a school program.
Yeah.
It's run by the school district.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a private guy.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Every nickel.
I like it.
Every nickel that goes in the academy from parent goes to the kid, not to my pocket. It goes
big fan.
To new equipment. Our equipment at the academy is the same as Div 1. When your kid's on hitting, he's got 3 computers on him.
Yeah.
The ball is 3D. The ball going off the bat's 3D, and there's body movement.
Wow.
So, but
Well, up until I knew nothing, and if I'll just say this to both of you that are sitting here, if there's anything we can do here at Raw or ISN, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm highly impressed with
programs like this.
doing.
I mean, I don't think my school district, after being there 34 years, as of yesterday when I talked to them, they didn't know what we were doing. They don't.
Really? Eh?
They don't have.
I don't feel so bad then.
No.
Yeah, well, that's good. We like my daughter went to the academy. She went for 1 year. She went to grade 12. She left her school, her friends at Belmont, her last year of high school, to go across town from Belmont's less than a 2-minute walk from my front door. And she went all the way across town to go to Lambrick. And it was such an amazing change in her life, not just for ball, just everything.
Right.
When you're around like-minded people, I think your life gets a lot better. And so I can't say enough about the academy.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed myself. So
wrap
it up, Raj.
Emma, come on, you're the last one.
Okay,
I don't have much to say.
Oh,
I think we covered everything. I'm just happy that we had the opportunity to do this, and I think it's all about growing the game and just, I'm super excited for this mentorship opportunity, and I'm excited to kind of use my platform and give back to Victoria and just the sport of softball. It's given me so much, and I'm so fortunate for all of the opportunities I've had. So, I'm really, really excited about it, and I'm very passionate about it. And, I'm just excited to make a difference in someone's life, and it's a pretty cool
good
thing to
stuff.
do.
Now, of all the interviews you did, Emma, TSN, ESPN, all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
No, I was just like, I mean, let's be honest. This is probably your highlight, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Could you just say, everybody listen to Raw Sportscast?
Yeah, I'll just put it on my Instagram.
No, just say it right now. Thanks.
Well, I want to thank all you guys. This was great.
Yes.
I got to give a shout out to our sponsors, ISN and Howie's Car Corral.
Absolutely.
They make this happen. And
Bucky's Tap House now, apparently.
Bucky's Tap
Yeah,
House.
old Simon,
Okay, perfect.
Said he gives a keg of beer, but
there you go.
I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen
So,
it. Okay.
but go to Buc-ee's.
I usually, all my kids' teams that I've ever coached, we had the Budweiser starting lineup. Budweiser never gave us a single penny.
No.
But we always had a starting lineup by Budweiser.
Yeah.
Even my U12B team.
Yeah.
I was a little apprehensive at the beginning about having Budweiser, so it was a Lululemon starting lineup.
Oh,
But
really?
halfway through the year, we changed it to Budweiser.
Well, any craft beer, local beer people out there, if you're listening to this, hit us up, and we'll give you some good shout-outs. Raj, close her up, Raj.
Thanks, everybody, and thank you guys for coming on today's Raw Sportscast, because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank
Emma,
you.
Rocky, thanks.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, that's another Raw Sportscast with Wading In. My name is Scott Harrigan, and we'll see you another time.